Good evening, everyone. This is Pranav Gupta, the founder and the director of Frontlist Media. Frontlist is encyclopedia, the guide, the profile, and the library. We believe in the power of the ecosystem. If you are a creator, publisher, seller, provider, or reader of the published world, this is the must destination for you to know the world around you. It brings the newsworthy from the world of publishing to its reader, covering an array of topics from book businesses to book passion to industry and statistics. We shed light from the already hyped to behind the scenes. In the ever-evolving world of chatter, opinions, and conversations, we let you visit all the facets of the fact. The Spotlight is a talk show on Frontlist, featuring the industry leaders and decision makers. It gives people from different streams a platform to put their opinions across hundreds of thousands of people. For the month of November 2021, our theme is freedom to publish. Freedom to publish is a fundamental subset of freedom of expression and is a prerequisite for thriving publishing industry, which itself is an essential part of a democratic society and a basis for a knowledge economy. Freedom of the media is the fundamental right of various forms of media, whether it include the print, radio, television, and online media, to operate freely in society without government control, restriction, or censorship. Allow me to welcome two very eminent and globally well-accepted speakers, and I'll introduce to them Giulia Margoni, Buona Sereta. Giulia works at the International Affairs Department of the Italian Publishers Association, where she follows the association activities related to the European and international context. Giulia served on the Freedom to Publish Committee of the International Publishers Association for 5 years, starting from 2016 to 2021. She is also the member of the IP Educational Publishers Forum, EPF, and its steering committee. She is currently in charge of ALDERSUP, the European Network of Bookfairs, coordinated by AIE, aimed at promoting the internationalization of book sector and developing a series of studies in the field of translation needs and reading habits in Europe. Welcome, Giulia, to the Frontlist Media on the Spotlight session.
Hello, Pranav. Thank you for having me today.
Allow me to introduce Mr. Kristin Arison. Good evening, Kristin.
Good evening.
Kristin Arison is a Norwegian publisher and chair to Freedom to Publish Committee at International Publishers Association, chairman at Norges Television, and a very senior consultant in the Norwegian publishing and media industry. He graduated in economics and held many senior level roles in different organizations in the Norwegian publishing industry. In 2012, he also became the managing director of the Norwegian Publishers Association. I welcome you, Kristin, to the spotlight session of the Frontlist Media.
Thank you, Brennan.
So I'll start straight away with the questions we have for you, to both of you. And my first question to you is, Kristin, freedom to publish, disinformation, hate speech, are they related? How do you define freedom to publish? Over to you, Kristin.
Yes, I think one of the key questions we have today is how to deal with hate speech. Again, you know, can we obtain an inclusive public debate without starting to censoring voices? You ask a question about it, and I must say I don't really think that nobody has the best answer yet. What it is obvious is that we have to try to better the way we discuss and get informed on the internet. And I think actually that the freedom of expression and the freedom to publish is vital to keep public discourse open and vibrant. And also I think that publishers have a key role in fighting disinformation and conspiracy theories. And actually when you ask for the definition of freedom to publish, in my world, that is the situation where the publishers can be allowed to publish all that they deem worthy of publication. In fact, as a matter of fact, even, and perhaps especially, if what they publish challenges the boundaries established by the society they operate in.
Thank you, Kristen. So, Julia, can I have your opinion on this?
Okay, yes, well, if I can start from the end, I would start from my definition of freedom to publish, and I would like to recall a quote that is very popular and that was attributed to Voltaire, that is, I disapprove what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say it. And I think that from this quote, we can really understand that freedom to publish consists in defending the right of everyone to express their opinion. In case of publishers, in particular, is the right to work in complete freedom without the risk to be persecuted, censored, assaulted, or imprisoned. Thinking about disinformation, there are many links with the freedom to publish. On one side, it is clear that disinformation flourishes in absence of freedom to publish. That is also absence of freedom of information and freedom of research. So the work that publishers do to ensure quality information is essential, and this can be done only when they can work in freedom. On the other side, I think that it's interesting to notice that this information can be also used as an excuse by regime in order to limit the freedom to publish. For example, to censor some critical voices by accusing them of spreading false information. We heard about many cases during the COVID where the government tried to reduce the free circulation of information with anti-fake news provisions that were an instrument to limit free journalism and critical reporting. And coming to hate speeches can be also a way to limit and reduce freedom to publish, and also lead persons to self-censorship in the end. Just to bring you an example, very recent, I spoke with some authors a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the way that they are using the social media to promote themselves and the books, and it was striking that they also experience the problem of hate speeches, because when they are online, they can face attack because they address controversial, political, or sensitive, in any case, sensitive topics. So it is a very complicated and sensitive issue for sure.
Thank you. So my next question goes to you. Does freedom to publish have different meanings in the physical versus virtual world? Kristen, you can start with this.
Yes, well, generally speaking, I think the answer is no. Then it is the same challenges and the same possibilities when it comes to freedom to publish, but obviously the challenges are more complicated and more difficult when it comes to the online world. And I mean, we've been in this digital age for almost 25 years, haven't we? But we still haven't really found a way to tackle this, and this is a key important question. And I can just say that as we just, some of us been involved in launching something called the World Expression Forum that starts next year, and I must say that of the 5 topics we are looking at for that Congress, this is certainly one of the topics, to understand all the challenges in the virtual world.
Julia, your thoughts on this?
Yes, I agree with the Kristen, because in the end, when there are limitations to freedom to publish, either in the online or in the offline world, the objective is always the same, and it is to silence critical voices, to reduce freedom of expression of individuals or groups. So what is different is that in the digital world, we assist new ways, new new form of censorship or self-censorship that are enabled by the features of the digital environment. One example that we already addressed is the increasing problem of hate speeches and fake news, and that are somehow boosted by the anonymity and the false identities that can be used in the network, and for sure require a new form of collaboration between all the players involved. And another aspect that could be interesting looking at the digital environment is the risk that is connected to the fact that some actors that are in a very dominant position in the digital market, and so they can act as gatekeepers in the field of distributing and selling books, for instance. Their behavior can have an impact on freedom to publish, because if they decide to exclude some titles from their digital shelf, then this is an immediate impact on the circulation of the book and could cause a sort of censorship issue. So this is an interesting aspect that is directly linked to the need of a healthy competition in the digital market.
So that's quite an interesting insight you brought in. So Kristin, so what are your thoughts on the censorship debate around social media platform, and what would be the right balance for it?
Yeah, I think Julia was really hitting the point here now. Yes, one of the great questions is, what do the gatekeepers do? And the risk is they are working in two ways. One is the official one, where we can sort of see that Twitter decides to kick Trump out, and we can discuss, is that a good or a bad thing? But also on the other side, behind the scenes, without us seeing it, using the algorithms in different ways, they are editing what we have access to. And this is very complicated, and we know that there's a lot of discussions around the world now if the law should be changed, and if one has to regulate this in one way or another. But the problem is, like Julia is saying, if you start regulating even in the best sort of meaning, you start with something that you think will help freedom of expression, you might end up curbing it instead. I think the answer is to be very principled on this question. I think it's a necessity to regulate in one way or another, but you really have to be transparent, open, and have the freedom of expression in mind if you want to do regulations. But there is a lot of discussion, as I said, around the world, well, both Julia and I are from Europe, and at the moment there's a lot of discussion in EU, European Union, on what should be done in this matter, and there is an act discussing that will be coming, and I think it is important that if there are limitations introduced, we have to understand what happens, and we must see that they are not trying to curb the freedom of expression and the freedom to publish.
Julia, would you like to add something to this?
Yes, I think that when we talk about censorship and social media, we have to do in any case a necessary premises, a premise that is that at least I can speak for myself and my association. We are in principle against any form of censorship because freedom to publish is not negotiable, and ideas should be fought with other ideas. So this is a guiding principle that should be applied both online and offline. However, then when we look at a phenomenon like hate speeches, speeches inciting to violence, racism, the problem of fake news, we need to tackle these phenomena that are very, very sensitive. So where is the balance? Maybe the balance stays in the concept of responsibility. That is a concept that as publishers we know very well. When the publishers do their job, they act as a corrector, as an intermediator between the authors and the readers and their audience. So they have a responsibility on their job, on what they do. So the point is whether the social platform also has a responsibility. And I think that in any case, whatever is the answer to this question, it is very important that they should be engaged with all the parties involved and collaborate in order to fight against the dissemination of harmful content.
Great. Quite an interesting one. And here in India also, there's a lot of debate going around, especially with regards to the social media, fixing their accountability, and about the censorship and regulating stuff. So different regions and governments are trying to make control over it, and it all depends upon the different governments have their different set of agenda how they put forward. Great. So I'll go to the next question. Kristen, it's for you. Do you believe in absolute freedom to publish? And are there any boundary conditions to it?
Yes, in principle, I think that there is an absolute freedom to publish. That's my general statement. Then I know that you have to have some kind of regulation even on freedom of expression. And I can just talk from where I'm sitting. I'm in a country that is quite often ranked either on top or very high on the freedom of expression indexes from different organizations. But even in my country, there are some regulations on the freedom of expression. And in general terms, it's quite easy to know and understand it. It's all about the real hate speech, which means that you cannot express whatever you want about persons or minority groups or in that way insulting people. And this has to be very clear. So that you both can understand the yes and no's, and it also must be within the framework of freedom of expression and freedom to publish. So I don't think a society can be without any regulations at all, but they must be clear, and they must be only to protect those who need protection. I think that's the key. And then obviously you have to transfer that into law in each country. But again, I don't think it's possible to have total freedom, because what is that? That means that you get a very high degree of self-censorship. And as Julia was saying, even if you have this regulated, it is still through the social media much increased pressures on publishers, authors, booksellers, librarians, and it really, I think that's one of the most important things we do when we work in the Freedom to Publish Committee, is to help our members and others to stand against all the pressure that they get. Because as we were saying, if you are a publisher and you think this is a work that is deemed to be published, you should publish it, and you might get a lot of pressure, but you just have to do it. So my conclusion is that as a publisher, you always have to make choices. You always have to make decisions on the work, but you really should try to do those decisions and conclusions only based on what you think is right to be published, and not be afraid of the self-censorship, not have to be afraid of governments trying to, or the authorities trying to stop what you think is deemed to be published.
Great. Julia, your thoughts on this?
Rather than an absolute, for sure, I would say that freedom to publish is a universal right. And as a universal right, is not negotiable, nowhere. It is not something that depends on where you are born. Shouldn't be something that depends on the country where you live. And so, what about the boundaries? The boundaries stays in the implementation of this universal right that is implemented in different social, political, and cultural systems, and the way in which they're implemented and regulated at national level can make a huge difference. And my position is the position of a person living in a democratic country, and so in Italy, and my experience, of course, can be more different from the experience of someone who lives in a country where there are laws that set a restriction to civil rights, like to freedom of association, freedom of expression, and so in the end, the issue stay in the implementation of the freedom to publish in the different political system. And in the end, it is not a case that we know that in the history, authoritarian regime has always been scared about books and the power that books can have to free people's minds, and they try to burn, destroy, and to censor them in any way, in any possible way.
Great. So, Kristen, how hard is to establish freedom to publish and the stability of the state and harmony among its population at the same time?
Yeah, quite a lot of authoritarian regimes think that the freedom to publish will unstable the situation in the country and make it difficult for the population. That's quite often the way they think. I obviously think it's the other way around, and I'll talk a little bit about that. It's interesting because I'm getting back to the World Expression Forum that we will start next year. One of the topics again that we want to examine a little bit more, and I think it's been clearer in the pandemic we've been through, the COVID-19 crisis, and that is how dependent a society is on creating a trust in a society. A trust between the inhabitants and between the inhabitants and the authorities. And there at least is a thesis saying that if you want to build trust in a society, you need to have freedom of expression and freedom to publish as a prerequisite. You need to have the possibility to have the ideas come flowing into society. You have to have the possibility of discussing and debating and trying to learn from each other. And I think, it's worth looking at, as I said, how important is trust in society, and then again, how important is freedom of expression and freedom to publish as a prerequisite for the trust. My thesis is clear. There's a clear line from freedom of expression to freedom to publish, to trust, to a better society. That's my belief. But it's going to be interesting to see if we can do some research on this, and we really want to look into if that is possible. I think that's an exciting idea. It would probably be a project of a couple of years to do it, but I think the COVID-19 crisis really put sort of the spotlight on the situation.
Quite an interesting one insight from you, and we look forward for the research what you're doing. So, Julia, your thoughts on this?
Yes, so of course, freedom to publish should be in synergy and not in any way in opposition with the stability of a social and political system. I think that to achieve this, there is a process, and this is a quite complex process. Part of it probably starts from the efforts in the literacy and education of the younger generation, because you need a stronger background to ensure the stability of fundamental freedoms in a society. Some actions that are linked to these are the support to freedom in education, that is to ensure the possibility that the educational market is free, where publishers can provide the educational content freely, and so the quality is the quality to emerge, and there is a freedom for teachers to choose the best educational offer. So it is something that starts in education. Then it is something that needs that is developed also through the fight against censorship, and censorship is a very big issue also in education. For instance, where there are books that are challenges in school libraries, in the education process. So you need to start from the youngest generation, and then to foster the participation of all the citizens to the public debate and to the public life, and promote the development of an open market where there is a free circulation of content, information, and ideas. Then once you have this background, I think that there will be for sure harmony with the rest of the political system.
Great.
If I may, Pranav, I think this is very important, Julia, to mention the role that publishers have in producing the learning materials, and how important that is to keep the freedom of expression highlights. Thank you.
Great. So I'll come to the next question. So, Kristen, there have been some authors assassinated for their controversial writings or a fatwa issued against them. What, as an organization as IPA and the other publishing bodies around the globe, have worked for the protection of their life?
Well, this is a very, very difficult question, and you might not only say authors, but also publishers. We have examples of publishers who've both been assassinated and killed. I think that one of the most important things we do is international cooperation. First of all, we have to try to see that this doesn't happen, obviously the international interest in what happens might help protecting authors and publishers. Might also be the other way. I mean, obviously, the fatwa, for instance, that is generally communicated. It might even make it worse. But I think our job, if we get back to the Freedom Publish Committee, is that we feel that we have to try to keep the international cooperation going. When things like this happen, we spotlight it again. We give awards to those who have been in situations like this. And I think, generally speaking, it is important that we try to learn from process. I know in countries, well, again back in Norway, we had an assassination in 1993. One of the publishers of Salman Rushdie was almost killed. So after that, our organization in Norway had a lot of discussions on how we can do changes. You have to do some security measures and all that. We never did that before, but after that, most of the publishers do have a set of security measures that they work on, because the world is different, and I think that's the same worldwide. So if we need to exchange ideas and thoughts about it, and we need to try to tell each other that even if this is a threat, we must not let that stop what we are doing.
Julia, your thoughts on today?
Yes, so this is a very important question, and I can answer on the basis of my experience in the Freedom to Publish Committee, and saying something that in part Kristen already said, that it is something that is for sure very, very important, and is something that I realized by joining this committee, is the support of the international publishing community to publishers and authors as well that are threatened, persecuted, and are at risk for their life. And this international support is realized by bringing their cases in the spotlight, to the public attention, to the attention of the media, but also bringing these cases in the dialogue with the national and supranational institutions. Why it's so important? It is important because on one side, publishers that are under attack feel that they are not alone, and this is very important for them. But and most of all, also those who are persecuting them become aware that they are observed from the outside and from the international community, and this could also have an important effect. Also, for instance, can have an effect in case of trials, could have an impact on the final outcomes. So international visibility is very important. I can add that in some cases it is in any case tricky to fine-tune the level of international visibility that is appropriate. For instance, in the short list of the Prix Voltaire this year, one of the candidates is the independent Belarusian publishers. So not an individual publisher with the name and surname, but a nomination for a group of independent publishers. One of the reasons is that we realized that it could be would have been dangerous, risky for the publishers if their name would have been made public. So it is a sensitive issue.
Fine. So I'll go on to the next question. Why is it, and it goes to Kristen, why is it significant for the publishing industry to tread the path of freedom to publish?
Pranav, I think that if we are to create and maintain free and healthy societies, I think publishers have a key role to show that they have the will and the ability to challenge established thinking. But we also work on preserving the history of our cultures, and we are really an instrument to make room for new knowledge and critical opposition, and also challenging artistic expression. I think that we can only do this by upholding the freedom to publish. And it is the way that we are able to do our role in society when we are working in this way. The result of and effect of the works that we decide to disseminate can influence both what is discussed in society and the development of society. So I'm in fact willing to go that far as say that the publishers have a key role in ensuring that we have the necessary information, the necessary debate, and the necessary development, because freedom of publish and freedom of expression is not something that you have acquired once and for all. It's a constant fight to keep it going, and it's really by what you are doing where you show your determination to uphold the freedom to publish.
Julia, your thoughts on this?
Yes, I can. I can add that for sure, freedom to publish is a prerequisite for publishers to do their job. Of course, there couldn't be publishing. There couldn't be a publishing industry without the freedom of expression, because the freedom of expression is the art of the publisher job. So it is essential in order for publishers to do to fulfill the key role that Kristen explained very well for the cultural and societal development. The publishers can't fulfill this role without freedom to publish. And it is also important that publishers at international level support and help their colleagues, the individual publishers who are prosecuted or risk their life simply because they are doing their job. So they need to help each other. It is very important. I can also say that it is interesting how the freedom to publish is related also to another pillar of the publisher world, that is copyright. Indeed, there cannot be freedom to publish without a copyright, because the copyright is the way we protect and ensure remuneration to authors and publishers, and so we ensure that they can do their work in complete freedom. And as the Italian Publisher Association, of course, we believe that the freedom to publish is a fundamental value. And just to bring an example, we called our National Book Fair More Books, More Freedom. That is exactly the way to celebrate the power of books to ensure freedom to individuals and to ensure that publishers contribute to the democratic development of society. We are committed in freedom to publish also in the collaboration with the Federation of European Publishers and the collaboration with the International Publisher Association to bring the publisher's voice in international fora. And recently we also joined the World Expression Forum, as we think that this is a unique opportunity to boost the message of publishers for freedom to publish in a global context, joining other voices.
Great, thank you so much. So great thoughts coming from both of you. And what I can make out from all the answers you guys made it, two key things: the self-censorship and the responsibility, whether it's an author or a publisher or an individual. These are the one key aspects which everyone needs to follow: the self-censorship, responsibility. So it allows others whether to choose, practice their religion of their choice, or to hold their own beliefs and opinion without fear or prejudice. Respect the beliefs, respect the opinions of others, their right to express these, and even when they may strongly disagree with these beliefs and opinions. So with this, what I would, since we are in the age of digital era, I would say every individual is a publisher in today's time. You write something, you post it on social media channels, you become a publisher. You become a self-publisher, you become a self-author. And the way it is being growing beyond the boundaries, and right from the children, right from the teenage coming into this, everyone is becoming a publisher or author in today's time by publishing or posting the content in any form over the media. My one thought, and I would like to have a quick reaction from both of you in 30 seconds each: should bodies like IPA or global bodies who strongly advocate for freedom to publish, freedom for expression, should develop some kind of universal curriculum which can be inculcated to the children at a very young age, and it should be taught across the spectrum in all kind of schools, but at a very young age. I'm talking about the children being taught at the age of 5 to 12, so they become more responsible. They understand with the kind of freedom to publish, freedom to speak, freedom to express themselves, it comes with a greater responsibility. But my point here would be different governments, different states have their own set of rules and regulations. And these are the things which are even taught in our countries, in different classes and different standards. But at IPA or global bodies like WIPO and many other, and especially the World Expression Forum, what Kristen is now leading into it, my point would be to develop some basic curriculum which can be, freely distributed among the schools, and we encourage that the generations to come, they respect that freedom of publishing, expression, and they become very responsible and they self-regulate so that no one gets affected by any means. Your quick thought, Kristen, and then followed by Julia on this.
Well, yeah, it's a key point, and actually, when we are working at this at World Expression Forum, we have just got funding for doing a pilot projects in schools on this topic, and it really starts with, you know, we want the young people to participate in the debate publicly. There are a lot of challenges for young people, as for everybody, doing that today, and also even performing in the public debate, perhaps in the local school. So I think this is a key point you have there, Rana, that we need to help them. So one of the ideas is to try to find out how kids and young people see the challenges in joining the offensive debate today. And then after that, we have observed that in a better way than we have knowledge about now, see what can we do about it. And I think one point is obviously, as you say, education is an important part of it. And when you were saying that we are all writers, we are all publishing directly in the digital media, and the problem is that we don't have an editor. So if you want to publish a book through a publisher, somebody edits what you do, but that's missing. So you really don't only have to be a writer; you also have to be an editor. But I think it's important to help and try to put in place some kind of framework that can help, because I think there's two challenging. The one is, you know, how this acts out like a self-censorship weapon, all the hate speech and all that. But on the other hand, the self-censorship can also be that young people withdraw. They don't want to be part of the public debate. It's too hard. It's too tough. They don't want to do it. And if that happens, you know, we are really losing out. So I think this is a very good question. And you had a lot of good questions today. The answers are much more difficult, but we have to work on them all the answers have to work on them all the time.
So while you mention about the editors thing, we don't have editor while everyone becomes a publisher or author on the digital platform. So born in the digital age, it gives me a very interesting opportunity, and it can be even, you know, world like your forum should also explore is developing an artificial intelligence tool which acts as an editor while someone posts the content over the social media platforms. So Julia, your concluding remarks, since we are short of time. So I would like to have a quick concluding remark from you. So we then post that we can take that.
Sure, very quick reaction. Of course, it is fundamental to help the development of a culture of freedom. And as I said before, younger generation are at the very start of the process. When we think about curricula, we know that are very related to the social and cultural and local context somehow. So they are somehow localized in a specific context. However, I think that what the publishers, what the IPA and what we can do as publishers is international level is to support at our best the importance of freedom in education and the pluralism and the competition even in the educational market. Because if educational publishers can do their job and can do their job freely, they can offer the best quality to pupils, and for sure within the content there will be also the possibility to express the fundamental values of freedom in education.
So ladies and gentlemen, this brings to the end of our spotlight session, Freedom to Publish. I'm absolutely honored, and it was the great pleasure to have Ms. Julia Margoni and Mr. Kristen Harrison all the way from Italy and Norway respectively to come and join for this session. We at Frontlist Media are truly delighted to have both of you. And I sincerely thank you for taking this time out and giving your valuable inputs and suggestions on this.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
So coming to the end, this was Pranav Gupta, the founder of Frontlist Media and the director of Frontlist Media. And with this, I'll sign it off. Namaste. Have a good evening. Bye and take care.